The Cowboys have reached the quarter pole of the season, and that bandwagon is emptying quicker than a keg at an Alpha Beta party. This is KD Drummond of bloggingtheboys.com, and I'm here today to break down the Cowboys award winners for the first quarter of the season. Why? Because I can. When was the last time a 2-2 team looked so and felt so below average? Regardless, Dallas is still in the thick of things, and they can still have their playoff fantasies about Cowboys cheerleaders, bottles of aspirin, feather dusters. Wait a minute. Wrong fantasy. My bad. On to the awards. For the offensive MVP through 4 games, none other than Sean Lee. That's right, I said it. Nobody on the entire offense really deserves this award, so I'm going to go ahead and give it to Sean. Now, Romo's been mediocre. The offensive line has been abysmal. Jason Witten, the real Jason Witten, was on the side of a milk carton for the first 3 weeks of the season. And the best receiver is only really catching balls in the second quarter to the second half of each ball game. So how can you not give it to Lee? He leads the league in tackles. He has 2 of the Cowboys' minuscule total of 3 turnovers, and both of his have resulted in the Cowboys' offense scoring points. Since the special teams isn't even doing its job in helping the Cowboys gain field position, it's got to go to none other than Sean Lee, as we know him on BTB, Chuck Norris. You don't agree with me? Chuck Norris will roundhouse kick you in the face. So if Lee is the offensive MVP, that must mean that DeMarcus Ware is the defensive MVP. Guess who has 5 sacks and is tied for 3rd in the league? DeMarcus. Guess who has 3 forced fumbles, which is tied for 1st in the league? DeMarcus. Guess who's the only player in the top 3 of each of those categories? That's right, DeMarcus. He's also the 2nd fastest player in the history of the NFL to reach 100 sacks behind Reggie White. He's now less than 10 away from passing the underappreciated Harvey Martin for the team's record, official or unofficial. Speaking of Martin, Jerry Jones, put that man in the Ring of Honor. You're going to have to put DeMarcus Ware in before he even retires. Moving on, who's the Cowboys' most valuable rookie? Well, heck, even if it wasn't up to the designation, it would have to be Morris Claiborne, wouldn't it? I mean, they did transfer a 2nd-round pick in order to move up to select him in last April's draft, so he must have some sort of value to the franchise. But even so, he's playing up to the title of being their most valuable rookie. Now, his press coverage has been great. He did have a bad game against Chicago when he gave it the touchdown to Devin Hester, but besides that, he's living up to his billing. The Cowboys secondary went from Sieve to Studley in the matter of 1 offseason, and he's a big part of it along with Brandon Carr. Dallas still ranks tops in the league, only giving up 169 passing yards per game, so they have to be doing something right. He hasn't earned his moniker Pick 6. He doesn't even have an interception yet, but don't worry, Cowboys fans, that time will come. Now, the unsung hero for the Cowboys, none other than Miles Austin. The Cowboys passing game has a really strange dynamic going on right now. They clearly see Dez Bryant as their number 1 receiver. The number of targets he gets spells that out. The opposing defenses clearly see Dez Bryant as a number 1 receiver. Their coverages spell that out. Yet it's Miles Austin that leads the team in yards, yards per catch, and touchdowns. Now, for some strange reason, these exploits aren't coming in the first quarter of the games. They're really barely coming in the second quarter before Chicago. They were mostly relegated to the second half. Now, if Dez Bryant was doing his job and actually catching what was thrown to him, Miles would be the number 2 receiver, but Dez isn't, so neither is Miles. Speaking of Dez Bryant, it's time to step up, sir. Each week I write a wrap-up column after the Cowboys game has concluded, and each week it seems like I'm talking about the things that Dez Bryant can do being outweighed by the things that he didn't do. Through training camp, we were all mesmerized as he was making the impossible look effortless, but that has to translate into the games. You know, the Dallas Cowboys fan base, like it or not, is a very conservative fan base for the most part, and they've grown very weary to all of the off-field exploits that he seemed to find himself in. If the production on the field matched all of that, it would be worth it. But for now, it's not, and he really needs to step up in order for Dallas to do anything on the 2012 season. Coming out of the quarter pole, Dallas has a daunting schedule to reach the midway point of the season. At Baltimore, at Carolina, home against the Giants, at Atlanta. Are you kidding me? Now, before the season started, I predicted the team would be 3-1 at this point, And if it wasn't for them coming out so sheepish in Seattle, I'd have been right on the mark. Now, fortunately, with this pressing schedule that we have ahead of us, I do think that Dallas has what it takes to go into Carolina and win, and then come back home and defeat the Giants for a season sweep. That would put us in line for a 500 record at the midpoint and in the right position to make a stretch run for the wild card spot in the playoffs. Now, that about wraps it up for our quarter pole awards for the Dallas Cowboys. This has been KD Drummond of bloggingtheboys.com. Make sure you subscribe to all of our YouTube channels, SBN Blogging the Boys, SBN NFL, as well as the main channel, SB Nation. Salute.